The Game Boy is home to a variety of sports games. Now, while some of these were quite rudimentary in the early days, games later in the life cycle of the platform got more complex and grandiose. Mario Tennis on the Game Boy Color is a perfect example of this. Now, does this RPG-infused tennis game still hold up to this day? Well, that's exactly what we're here to talk about. Let's get into it. Danny from the Famicast here. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. Sound off in the comments down below, and we may read it out on our bi-weekly show called the Famicast. Of course, you can find this in written form over on our website, thefamicast.com. Now today, though, again, we're taking a look at the Game Boy Color classic, Mario Tennis, in this retro review. Now, just for the record, I mainly played Mario Tennis via the Game Boy app on the Switch for this review. Now, even with that said, this retro review is focusing on the game itself rather than features specific to the version on the Switch and the Game Boy app. I just wanted to clear the air and get that out of the way. In terms of controls, now with only 2 action buttons on the Game Boy Color, controls in Mario Tennis may seem simple. Now to some extent they are, however there is quite a bit of depth here. Now A is used for regular shots, and B can be used for a slice shot. Now if you hold A or B, basically this results in a little bit more of a powerful shot. Now more complicated skills can actually be learned in the story mode, which we'll get into here a little bit shortly, including drop shots and lob shots. So by pressing A and then B, this will perform the lob, while pressing B and then A will perform a drop. Also, if you press A or B twice, it'll perform more powerful shots here too. Now, you gotta be really careful here though. So if you press A or B before the ball arrives, it kind of initiates this charge sequence. Now, if you do this too early, incoming tennis balls might just slip right on by. So I think even just with this 2-button layout, there really is a lot of complexity to the controls here. Now, mastery of these more complex moves is absolutely necessary when you're working your way up the ranks in story mode, or if you're just facing off against a little bit more difficult computer players, or friends or something like that. And of course, like I said, with the story stuff, I'll get into that a little bit later. But the CPU in that mode starts out pretty forgiving, but gets quite tricky the further you move on. Now, it should be noted that doubles matches here too play almost identically to singles, with the obvious difference being the addition of a CPU player. Now, honestly, I preferred singles matches as it gives you a little bit more control over the action. So yeah, there's that. And then just another thing about the controls here too, the overworld control in the Mario Tour section, the story mode, it's also pretty simple. You move around with the control pad and then A initiates dialogue, or the ability to interact with items or the environment. Mario Tennis is a pretty deep game with a few modes on offer. Players can choose from Exhibition, Mario Minigames, Linked Play, and Mario Tour. There are also a couple of other things you can do as well, like there's a dictionary where you can look up a bunch of tennis terms and stuff like that, as well as a couple of other different options. Now, I think Exhibition and Link Play are easy enough to understand. Link Play is linking up with another friend to play. However, the minigames in Mario Tour need a little bit of an explanation. Now, the Mario minigames are just kind of what they sound like. Now, upon entering this mode, you'll be able to choose from a variety of different tennis-based minigames featuring characters from the Mario universe. Now, these are typically high-score affairs, and I think they're pretty fun to attempt and just to try out. On top of this, several courts can actually be unlocked by clearing the minigames. It's a fun addition to the game that kind of just adds a little bit more to it. Now, Mario Tour is the most compelling mode in the game. Now here you take control of either a boy or girl, it's your choice, and you work your way up the ranks at the Royal Academy. Now there are several levels and tournaments to compete in with numerous foes to defeat. Now while the story elements are a little bit light, I think this is a great example of how both RPG elements and sports games can work well together. Now while common in modern gaming, this was pretty novel for the time and gave players more control over their character and what they could do. Gaining experience and levels are also necessary here to tweak your character's attributes and give you the edge that you'll need in matches. Now, experience can be gained by simply playing the matches in the leagues or by taking on challenges found throughout the grounds. Playing the matches might be enough for some, but I found that seeking out these extra challenges really helps. It really helped prepare me, and it probably helped prepare you for the more challenging matches deeper into the game. Overall, I think the story mode here in Mario Tennis still holds up. It's not going to blow you away narratively or anything like that, but it's a fun addition that ties the game together nicely. Now, opponents in the earlier stages, kind of like what I mentioned a little bit earlier, they're pretty easy, but the difficulty does ramp up as you progress. Now, I think this aspect of the game is fair though, and I think it encourages you to really just get better at the game. Now, if you play Mario Tennis on original hardware, you have access to a pretty cool feature. transferring data to the N64 version of the game. Now, of course, you need to have an N64 transfer pack, a copy of Mario Tennis 64, a copy of the Game Boy Color version, and all that type of stuff. N64, blah, blah, blah. You get it. Now, as long as everything is working correctly, whenever you boot up the N64 game and everything's connected, a new option labeled Transfer will pop up on the screen of Mario Tennis 64 and allow you to swap data between the games. Now, this is useful for unlocking characters, courts, and more between both versions of the game. Now, one of the cooler features is the ability to use characters from the story mode in the Mario Tennis on the Game Boy Color, bring that over into the N64. So Alex, or your main character, Harry, like your partner character if you're a guy, or Nina and Kate, you can bring these guys over with the stats that you gained in the Game Boy Color version of the game. And you can even earn experience while playing the N64 version and send it back to the Game Boy Color. Now, the setup might have been a bit much for poor kids back in the day. I mean, I know I didn't even have a copy of either game back in the day, but it's really cool to see these characters like on the N64 in 3D. I kind of wish I would have had the funds to be able to check this out back in the day. Now, getting back to the Game Boy Color side of things, I think at first glance, Mario Tennis might not look like much, especially when it comes to interactions in the overworld for like the RPG mode. Now there, players are introduced to the world via an isometric camera and small character sprites. It's pretty reminiscent of other RPGs on the system at the time, and I think it still packs quite a bit of detail. But I think the main stars of the game visually are the amazing sprites that are used when taking the court. Now, opponents have ample detail, and the animations here look absolutely fantastic. I think this goes for both the Nintendo mascot characters and also the original characters that were created specifically for this game. Additionally, the music in this game is varied, and it just has some really catchy tunes. It absolutely slaps. I mean, whether it's the overworld, regular matches, or like the last set, Mario Tennis is full of some real bangers here. Now, I managed to actually track down a complete copy of Mario Tennis on the Game Boy Color from a resale site here in Japan. Now, as you can see, my copy is in pretty decent condition. I have the box here too. There's a little bit of wear on it, but overall it's not too bad. It didn't come with a plastic bag for the game, but it does have the box insert, the manual, and the other slips of paper that came with the game as well. You can see one of them is like actually a survey that you can send in and stuff like that. So I'm pretty pleased with that purchase. It was only like 1,000 yen, which as of right now is something like, I don't know, $7 US, so not bad. Of course, you know, all of this stuff is nebulous. Who knows how much it will cost if you try to get it, but it seems like a lot of Game Boy Color stuff, Game Boy stuff, is not that expensive here in Japan. So if you visit Japan or have a way of buying things, I say go for it. It's a really cool piece to add to your collection. Mario Tennis on the Game Boy Color is a surprisingly deep game. I mean, despite the button limitations, Camelot did a great job adding a variety to the gameplay with the various button combinations. The story mode, in addition to the other challenges, give gamers quite a bit of content. Simply put, if you're looking for a 2D simulation sports game, you really can't go wrong here. It's probably one of the best games on the platform in that respect. But let's go ahead and turn things over to you guys. Did you play Mario Tennis on the Game Boy Color back in the day? Have you played it recently? Do you prefer more sim-like sports games from Nintendo like this, or ones that are a little bit more arcade-like? Sound off in the comments down below. We'd love to hear from you. Now, as always, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed this one, consider dropping us a like. That really helps with visibility for the channel and stuff like that, I guess, you know, algorithm, all this type of stuff. If you appreciate what we do, please consider subscribing. We've got tons of podcasts, video reviews, looks at classic games like this, and a whole lot more. Again, this is Danny from the Famicast. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.